According to reports yesterday, Isak wants to explore a move away from St James's Park. I think a lot of our eyebrows were raised. We've got 6 eyebrows between us in here. I reckon at least 5 of them would have been raised when we saw that he had, quote unquote, a minor thigh injury and couldn't take part in the pre-season tour of Asia. Now, I would... The worst thing about being a professional footballer for me would be pre-season and post-season tours to far-flung places.
Post-season in particular.
I can't be fucking asked to travel.
Oh, no, I can't bother. Honestly, I just want to be around a pool with a strawberry margarita.
Exactly. So you can have sympathy for him, maybe slightly exaggerating a potential injury to say he doesn't want to do the tour, but it felt, didn't it, when we saw that news come out, that the collective hearts of Newcastle fans everywhere sank.
Yes.
And it looks like, to me at least, I'll throw it over to you guys of course, but it looks to me like it's only going to go one way, because with players want to go, they normally want to go, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And look, this has been hanging over Newcastle fans and Newcastle all summer. And the timing is just terrible. There's no good timing for your best player to say, I want out. But at this particular juncture, it is very, very difficult when you're going on your pre-season tours and such. And it's troublesome for them going forward, because if you look at the striker market as well, you have to throw this in. Everyone's having issues with it in terms of attracting players, bringing players in, and Newcastle's already failed, I think, with Xhaka, who's gone to Liverpool. Obviously, they had a bid for Wissa rejected as well.
And Mbeumo
as well. So
Delap.
Yep. Kudus was linked as well. So
Les Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Stefan
Guivarc'h, yeah, Hall of Famer, yeah. Stefan Guivarc'h, who played up front for France when they won the World Cup, but didn't do anything at all in terms of goals.
Yeah.
And then Newcastle still went and got him, and he did nothing for them either. You know, it's a path well travelled.
He's a playground punchline from my era.
He is
I don't know if that was the same for you guys.
He is a bit. But Jim, based on what David's saying there, I mean, fine, it is traditionally quite difficult to get strikers anyway, but Newcastle would be probably a bit annoyed as well by saying, hang on a minute, Liverpool, you've already taken Ekitike from under our noses, and now you want our best player as well.
Well, it feels like that's not quite the way that it's played out, right? So, I mean, it sounds as if Isak has decided to just be a massive hot mess. Yeah. In the sort of part of the transfer window where a lot of the striking business has been done now. Obviously, Ekitike's gone there. Arsenal have just signed Gyökeres, and whether there was any realistic chance of
We're
that.
We're going to come on to that.
Of course, but whether there's any... It's pretty much done. I think it's just the medical is the last thing to do. Whether that was realistic or not, there was certainly someone linked with him. So a lot of those destinations that Isak possibly would have been able to land at the start of the window just don't seem like they're there anymore. If the whole window would be very, very different if he'd made this decision in June. So it makes me wonder if it's even possible for him to get a move. I would think Liverpool would be the destination he wants. And in some ways, if you take the finances out of it, it would make sense, because we hear a lot about Alexander Isak that in the season that Newcastle were in the Champions League, playing twice a week was difficult for him, and he picked up a lot of injuries and a lot of kind of strains because of that. So in a sense, if you have both of those players, you mitigate against that, and we're seeing that more and more with squad building now, that teams appear to have too much. But if you want to go deep in every competition, you absolutely have to have that, or you're going to fall apart at the end. So, I mean, Liverpool are pretty good in terms of PSR, because...
Very good. I was going to say, I was looking at their modernisation, and I think it was the lowest out of the traditional big six.
And that's the key thing.
Really
they barely owe anyone any money, which most clubs, which is rare.
And their revenue streams are I think it's expected to top 800 million.
Yeah,
that's all.
So, David, do you think you're the only person in the UK this week wearing a Stone Island jacket looking at amortisation of players?
I think it might be.
I was going to ask you actually. I was going to say to you, with the Stoney on, getting the badge in and bringing from the northeast. Do you think you're going to kind of kick off at some point about this?
I think I might have to.
Go back up north. And
I'm just going to bide my time.
Because a lot of pressure on Anthony Elanga.
Yeah,
who's
very
come
much
in.
So now.
Anthony Elanga's coming, and it's that John Travolta gif. He's just looking around, going, "What? Yeah, just me. Is it just me?"
But I mean, if Liverpool can make it happen, even then, presumably for it to be worth it for Newcastle, they're going to have to stump up a lot of cash up front. So possibly because of this PSR headroom, even though they've spent what they've spent, maybe they're the only club that can do it. And it's a market opportunity where it's like, okay, it is objectively mad for us to do this now. But at the same time, he's arguably the best striker in the world, certainly in the conversation.
I still think Darwin Núñez could go as well. And there's still potential Luis Diaz as well.
And they might raise some money there.
So I think they're fine, or their revenue streams are that good right now that they can do this deal and not really get away without losing anyone. But I think they might just go, this is probably a good time to move Darwin on, wherever he may end up going. So they're in a really good position. And like you said, you've got to have a deep squad. You've got to have players in different positions. We don't know how long Ekitike is going to take to, adapt.
Yeah.
Wirtz as well, brilliant player, but he might take a bit of time to adapt. So they've got to have this, in mind.
Yeah, and I guess you can look at it, as ever with these types of stories, you look at it from the Newcastle side, you look at it from, as we expect, the Liverpool side. And maybe we can do a bit more on Newcastle in a minute. But on the Liverpool side, they look very, very threatening and very powerful now. I mean, it's too premature to say they're going to have a kind of dominant period, but we don't know what's happening with Man City. A couple of other big teams in the Premier League look miles off it. Arsenal have tried to knock on the door and not kind of got over the threshold. And Liverpool are now really strengthening from a position of strength already. Like I said on Monday, they won the league by such a big margin. It was over really miles before the end of the season. Yet they also look like, if this happens, they've probably done the best in the transfer window this summer as well. So they're going from strength to strength, quite literally.
Absolutely, and that's what the great teams do. Look, you don't just rest on your laurels and go, "Oh, we won, that's it."
Ferguson's United with a great example of it.
Exactly, always improve. There's never a case where you can just keep things the same, and they've done that exactly well. And the signings they've made have been astounding. And they might still be a centre back, coming in as well. I know they really like Mark Gase as well. So
they signed Mark Gay as well.
Yeah,
be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
There'd be a lot of money for Gay, won't it?
Imagine the conspiracy it'd have to happen for them not to win the league. We don't have to imagine it because we'll hear about it.
Yeah.
On the Newcastle side then, I mean, the reports came out yesterday that the great Alan Shearer himself, the king of Newcastle, Alan Shearer is reportedly trying to convince Isak to stay. And I just thought that was quite a confusing sentence to read. So what is he going to do? What can Alan Shearer tell him?
He invited him to his castle, the Newcastle, that the king of Newcastle lives in.
Shearer's bar.
And Shearer's fort.
But
exactly. What's the pitch?
Please, you picture you're Alexander Isak sitting around your lovely house, plotting your Liverpool move. If the nefarious nature of what he's doing is to be believed with his team, and the phone rings and it's Alan Shearer, what's he saying? I mean, Alan Shearer couldn't convince Newcastle to not get relegated as a manager.
You can be a legend here is going to be part of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
definitely.
The issue is, I think if you're Alan Shearer, genuinely what you say is, look, it's going to take a little bit of time because of the PSR rules, but Newcastle are going to be a dominant force in English football. That's inevitable. And you'd be a hero, and you can win everything if you stay and be a part of that. That's whether that's possible within the time frame of Isak's career, because he's 25 and careers are short, and as we've seen because of the PSR rules, it is taking Newcastle time to have the money available to do what they want to do. That's surely the only route of attack, right?
But Dave, my take on it is that he's turned on a contract in the summer. Apparently, he was offered to be the best paid player in Newcastle's history. And neither of that's convinced him. So is a phone call from one of the least charismatic men in football going to change anything?
It's absolutely not going to do anything.
Are you saying that with your Sunderland hat on?
No, honestly, I'm saying no. Look, I'm not.
Why do you keep pumping your fist? Why do you keep selling? Why?
Palmer.
That's with a little candle in it, a little sparkler.
No, I would avoid getting tribal here. No,
was Sunderland throwing a hat into the ring for him?
No, because he's not coming from Ligue 1 and isn't 21, so
probably
not
he's too old for us.
Our radar.
Don't fit the profile.
Old man Isak. No.
Look, I just think, you've said a key point there, like a couple of years away from potentially Newcastle being, a challenge for the title, but it's very, very difficult for clubs to do that, and I think Isak has looked at that and said, look, I want to win titles now. He's had a few injuries in his career as well, so he's probably looking at that. He's 25 now, and I know it's still young, but he's probably still looking at it and going, I want to win titles now. I need to have something to show for my career. Newcastle, the way things are shaping up and the power between several clubs at the top of the league is, I need to make this move and join one of them.
Yeah.
Basically, because that isn't happening when you're outside that group of teams.
Definitely.
And it's an unfortunate, it's a sad thing, it's a sad way to look at it, but that's unfortunately how it is. And players want to win trophies. They want to end their career with something to show for it.
Yeah, and look, you guys alluded to it at the top of this, but just to reiterate, they need forward players now. I mean, if what we think is inevitable does end up being inevitable, because generally speaking, eventually if a player wants to go, they go. Even if it's not now, it's probably the die is probably cast. So that means that Newcastle desperately need forward players. I know they've got like Murphy had a good season last season. Gordon's a good player. There are players out wide who can affect things. Harvey Barnes has made a contribution, but they've lost Wilson, who was kind of a busted flush anyway. If they lose Isak as well, who are you relying on? You got the young lad Sula, who they rate, but you can't really expect him to lead the line.
They'll have to replace him. They've been linked with Benjamin Sesko and thrown a lot of money at that.
Sesko and Visser it'll be probably. It has to be possibly both.
I mean, I'd get Sesko and then I'd probably invest it elsewhere in the team if they can. If the PSR allows it, I'd invest it elsewhere. But Sesko seems to fit their remit of a young player that they can mould and work with, like they did when they got Isak. I think that would be a really good move for them. Visser going to Newcastle seems a bit an odd one because of the stage of his career he's at. He's 29, and don't get me wrong, he's proven he can score goals in the Premier League, but I just think they'll go for somebody younger. And I think we should add as well, we've got to remember Newcastle's had such a tricky summer all over because of Paul Mitchell heading out from his sporting director role, and I think that upscuttled a lot of their plans for this summer. You've got to keep that in mind that, you know, the new regime came in a little bit later and plans were all a bit, you know, skew-whiff in terms of where they saw themselves, because I know the fans have been getting itchy saying, look, where's the new signings? We've had a great season, let's build upon it. Only Elanga came in, they've had those knockbacks, so it's been a really troubling summer for them. So it'll be interesting to see where they are on targets for, you know, to account for Isak's loss.
Yeah, clock's ticking as well. And this feels like one of those things that might just run and run. If you think Gyökeres has run and run, Isak feels like it might. Because if Newcastle want to be difficult about it, they can make it.
Well, they might have to be difficult about it because with the way.
Well, they might have to do it quick though, because they might want to get someone in.
Well, but what I was going to say was the way, obviously, as we know, that transfer works. The way transfers work. If a player costs, say, 60 million, you never get all of that at once. But if they need to go out and sign someone very expensive very quickly, they will need to say to Liverpool, look, like we need 70, 80 million of this now, so that we can spend it now. So that's obviously going to be a consideration as well. So it's going to be really messy.
And okay, fair enough. Before we move on, just very quickly get a sense check from you guys on if Isak does leave Newcastle and leaves them in the lurch, so Newcastle can't get a striker replacement in time, will Liverpool fans consider him a rat?
It's a good question. There is rodent-like behaviour, I suppose, on display, isn't there?
But do you think Liverpool will forgive that though?
I think they might be quite quick to forgive it. Yeah, actually.
Do you think? Can you see Isak getting booed in his first game at Liverpool?
I would be very surprised. I fear for Jack Grealish, as we know he's scared of mouse. Yeah, and a lot of players.
Grealish isn't involved. We'll hear more about Grealish.
Profile of mouse at the moment, so it's going to be a frightening season from next.
Was it not Cole Palmer? I was getting two idiot twins mixed up. The idiot twins in the Premier League.
Grealish was the one who said he was scared of mice, rat, mouse.
Do you think?
I think that's the exact. Little conversation he had with himself.
Would you, if you had to come down one side of the fence or the other, both of you, would you say that Cole Palmer is also frightened of mouse?
No, Palmer fears nothing.
Yeah,
I think Palmer would just smash it with.
Yeah, so do I. You just think it's a wasp and just
just eat that was a very powerful sound.
Well, yeah.
You've obviously done it yourself, David. All right, I can't remember what. Oh yeah, it was about Liverpool, wasn't it? It was having a dig at them. Pretty standard. Okay. Speaking of players who want to leave and may or may not be able to, Granit Xhaka has apparently agreed terms to join Sunderland. But before you start taking your T-shirt off and running around the desk, David, in celebration, Erik Ten Hag has had something to say about it. He says that Xhaka's agent can say anything, but this club has already lost 3 important players. We won't let any more players go. That's not possible. This feels to me like it's only going to end up making Erik Ten Hag look stupid for the first time since his team lost 5-0 to an under-20 side in pre-season last week. David, you must be confident now that Xhaka's going to move to the northeast.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's not French or 21, so you must have a bit of trepidation involved. Yeah.
It's interesting. They were doing a few interviews at the start of the summer in terms of, you know, how Sunderland, the sporting director, how they would approach this season. And they said they're going to go for a bit more experience. So obviously the first few transfers have not been experienced. So you can see them pivoting to that now. And I think there was a lot of links with Henderson as well, obviously, before he moved. But I think it's a really good move, and it is the sort of presence that you need in midfield, in the centre of the team to, you know, bring everybody together.
Has he still got enough to offer?
I think so.
AC Milan wanted him earlier in the window.
But I just feel like Italy is obviously a very different league to the Premier League. And so Xhaka's made a big contribution to Leverkusen's recent success under Alonso. We know that.
Yep.
But he is advancing in years. He was moved on effectively because Arsenal felt like he wasn't at that level.
No, it was the opposite was true.
He wanted to go.
Yeah, he wanted to go to Leverkusen. And what I find very interesting about this is part of the deal he had at Leverkusen included the option to stay on in a coaching role. So I think he's been doing his coaching badges for a long time. So I'm surprised he actually wants this move. I think it's the Erik Ten Hag effect. It's like if I stay here, I'll be put off the idea of managing. So just get me a move. Sunderland, where's that? It's in England. Yeah, go.
I thought it was the Sunderland effect, and you just saw Sunderland. You're like, massive.
Do you hear that though? Where's that?
Unbelievable.
I know.
Unbelievable.
It's that Southern bias.
I was going to say bloody Southerners, man.
But they have made moves, Sunderland. I mean, we talk about how Premier League teams promoted to the Premier League can give themselves the best chance of staying up, and one of the answers is inevitably throw loads of money at it. Simon Adingra, 20.5 million. Habib Diarra, 30 million.
Adingra is an amazing
well.
signing. I cannot believe they've pulled that off for that little money as well. Presumably he didn't have so much time on his contract or something.
Yeah, they were linked with him before as well. When Watson got linked with Tommy Watson got linked to Brighton first. They were saying Sunderland were trying to get Adingra as part of the deal, and obviously they've been doing as separate deals now. So the interest was there. Sunderland really, really like him and he fits that wide mould of player that they've been looking at as well.
So and they've lost obviously Watson, who was important for them. That deal was done ages ago, wasn't it? And they've also lost Joe Bellingham, of course.
Job was the big one. That was the one. And looking at bringing in Habib Diarra, I think that kind of actions that. And look, Watson obviously got the win and sent us up, but he didn't play that much for us, so it wasn't like he was taken out of the team, and that's going to be a big loss. So the money's there, and they had the money from the Jack Clark sign that they didn't really sale that they didn't really spend as well when he went to Ipswich the year before.
And you are on the record in this very studio as saying you think Sunderland will stay up this season.
Yeah, I don't think that's wild, and Granit Xhaka makes me even more confident.
Yeah, I mean Xhaka is for all of his previous kind of head losses and stuff, he's really matured, and that appears to have gone entirely out of his game. Obviously, when he was at Arsenal, he played a bit more in a more advanced role towards the end of his career. That carried on at Leverkusen. Then he kind of went back a little bit to the role he played before. He wasn't so kind of steady. Although I think he was always a bit underrated in that sense, because he's kind of his line breaking passes from deep were always very, very good, and I think he's matured in that role as well. So he'll offer a lot, and he's a real leader. He was known as a kind of almost unofficial captain in the dressing room.
Despite a few flare-ups, there was a few incidents, wasn't there, sort of thing. And I think that washed over what a good leader he actually
absolutely
is.
And I think that is absolutely crucial to any team coming up. That sort of experience. It's an incredible signing. If they can pull it off.
I mean, if it happens, yeah.
If they can mug off Erik Ten Hag yet again.
Do you think for us, it's just in our minds, it's settled now that Erik Ten Hag is just a calamitous person?
Yeah, it's really unfair, isn't it? Because he's achieved more than any of us ever will.
And he's still
if you put us all together. And yet he seems like a clown.
Because he's in Germany now.
So cruel.
Because he's in Germany now. Any good thing he does, he's not picked up by the British press, is it? It's just anything that comes up makes him look slightly stupid. It gets picked up. For all I know, they've won every single other pre-season game like 10-0. It's just not reported because they lost 5-0 to an under-20 side.
They've been linked with Anthony as well, so he might this might actually be his biggest achievement at Man United is taking Anthony.
Getting Anthony away, doing him a favour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Xhaka's apparently picking Sunderland over Saudi side Neom, and speaking about the frying pan into the fire, Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce. I'm not replacing that manager with that one for very different reasons, but it's still going to be a stressful.
What a combo they would be, though. I'm sad to not see that happen.
Xhaka being managed by Mourinho in a massive Istanbul derby is something that we do deserve to see in some way.
Well, even sort of some sort of loan, can that happen?
The fact that you've said he's calmed down now in his later years, that situation would test that theory to the very limit.
Very much so.
Like you could have him in a tan weird derby.
Well, listen,
as spicy.
That would be exactly. That will be absolutely spicy, depending if Newcastle have got any players left or not. All right. Well, we wish Granit Xhaka all the best in his pledge to deliver European football to Sunderland next season. David's nodding vigorously there. Let's go for a break. Coming up after this, Marcus Rashford finally gets his patatas bravas. Terry Shedingham will be furious.
If you listen to what I'm saying, we don't have to sell. The papers have been talking nonsense for months.
I read it in the papers that you have to sell.
Oh, so you believe your mates in the media then?
David Cartledge there, everyone, calling into TalkSport last night. No, it was a Newcastle fan. He was actually called Pete as well.
Yeah.
So this was shared on social media, and I sent a joke into the Ramble WhatsApp group saying, Donis has lost his mind. But he weirdly sounds a bit more like you than he does Pete.
That's a setup. I'm not having, that's not a real. I'm not having that.
They're loving it in the studio. I mean, as Pete said, imagine being really wound up and having Jamie O'Hara and Gabby Agbonlahor to calm you down.
And Gabby Agbonlahor, you can see in the clip, he asked that question to wind him up.
Yeah, definitely.
Gabby Agbonlahor getting the better of you on national radio.
I think they were talking about the fee. I think they were talking about the fee as well. And go, he's only worth about 50-40 million or something as well. So they were reeling him in. No, that was a setup. That was a prank.
So that's like a Sunderland double agent, you think?
That's absolutely. That's somebody in a pub in Sunderland with his mates and they're going out the bar.
Is that a Sunderland accent? I can't tell.
No, no. It's just it's a strange accent. That's where it is.
Because to me, the Pete Donaldson Hartlepool, the Dave Cutley Sunderland, and the general Geordie accent, they're all subtly different when when you're in communication with people directly.
Yeah.
But in my mind, away from it, they're all the same.
He just sounds like if a teapot could talk. He's just getting more and more.
Yeah, steaming.
Yeah.
Also, as I've regularly said on this show, it's rare to have two of the top three stupidest people I've ever met in doing this job in the same studio, in Jamie O'Hara and Gabby Agbonlahor. I'm not going to tell you who the third is, but technically they could have also been in the studio as well. So anyway, Marcus Rashford has moved to Barcelona. Barcelona confirmed the signing of him on a season-long loan from Manchester United on Wednesday. They have an option to buy him for £30 million. Rashford himself has taken a 25% wage reduction when bonuses are factored in. He'll wear the number 14 shirt, obviously made semi-famous by Thierry Henry at Barcelona. And this is a really interesting move because it's almost as if Marcus Rashford made this happen just by visualising it.
Totally. He asked the universe. He Noel Edmonds it.
He Noel Edmonds it into reality. And I'm tempted to say, although I don't think he's carried himself with amazing credit during the time in Man United, I think he's probably he played his part in it being a tricky situation. I think it's fair to say. I am kind of pleased for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Can they register him, David?
Well, that's always the thing with Barcelona. Who knows? He might be in the stands for a few months before they boot somebody out. Nico Williams was like, I'm not going to move if I'm sitting in the stands like Danny Olmo was for a couple of months.
That was the main reason they didn't go, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's how it goes. But look, like you said, he's done unbelievably well to get this move. Do
you think he's worth it?
No.
You don't think he's worth the move? He hasn't earned the move?
No, I don't think he's earned it. I'm questioning. I don't think Barcelona really need him as well. It's just
isn't it a depth signing? It looks to us because of the profile of Rashford and because of the sort of drama that surrounds him in this country that he's going to go in and start. But he's not going to get in over Rafinha, is he?
No, he's going to be. He'll be rotating. He'll be back up. They're going to play a lot of games, and they'll need a bit of depth there. So I totally get that. But I mean, he's not going to play as a striker there. He's going to be playing out wide. That's for absolute sure. And it will be interesting to see how he beds in. He's put it out there. Look, I'm desperate to play with Yamal. And it'll be interesting to see how he links up because, look, Hansi Flick's football since going to Barcelona has been excellent.
Hansi Flick apparently really wanted Rashford.
Yeah, which is interesting. And their football has been really entertaining, really expansive, and everything that Man United's football hasn't been for a number of years when Marcus Rashford's been there, and he's been the subject of a lot of criticism. So he could ultimately enjoy his football again.
It's an amazing move when you consider everything that's happened, because I think Barcelona, watching them in the Champions League last season, some of the games they had, some of the results were absolutely crazy. They were the most entertaining team in it. And they look like they're on the cusp of being something really, really special. And they need to tighten up a little bit at the back, and they need to be a little bit less kind of possibly bit reckless. They have those kind of head loss moments sometimes that you can.
That amazing game against Inter in the Champions League.
And Benfica as well, that incredible one in the rain. And it's amazing to me that Marcus Rashford has managed to insert himself into that. It's like when Nathan Dyer moved from Swansea to Leicester and won the league. Who could have seen that coming? It's like, well done.
Yeah, exactly. To me, it feels like, I think I might have mentioned this in earlier weeks when this idea that Rashford may or may not move on to somewhere like Barcelona was being talked about. Like, I feel it from admittedly quite a simplistic viewpoint. It's like, it's a World Cup year. You've lost your way. I mean, you've lost your way, right? I know you've had a little bit of redemption at Aston Villa. You've been given a bit of a lifeline there. You've made a contribution. The way Emery used him was quite interesting with this idea of starters and finishers, and he would bring him in Asensio on and they'd do stuff. And obviously they played in the Champions League and all the rest of it.
And obviously he was brilliant against PSG, the standout team in Europe, which is a huge shop window for him.
Right? He was. But the thing is, if you go back 4 or 5 years when he's scoring 20 plus goals a season for United, he's some way away from doing that at a top club. And as I keep saying, it's a World Cup year. So he's hopefully looking at it going, need a fresh start. Barcelona are as big as it gets. And I want to force my way back into that World Cup contention for next summer. But the problem is, like the fly in that ointment, David, is that, as you and Andy have said, I mean, Andy said on the continent yesterday that you're probably much more likely to be cover for Rafinha than play through the middle or start a huge amount of games or whatever. The fly in the ointment is he might not play. He might just go from being on the bench at Man United or not even in the squad at Man United to on the bench at Barcelona and playing here and there. And if you're that type of attacking player, it's actually quite difficult to build momentum and be consistently performing if you're not playing all the time, because you're expected to go on and change games and it's pressure. And also, Barcelona, for the vast majority of their games, don't need the game to be changed because they're already fucking winning.
I was going to say they're in the ascendancy.
Yeah.
So it might be a case of, who knows, maybe Flick's looked at how you've mentioned about Emery used Rashford and might use him at a certain point in games just to finish off games or just to extend leads and such. But I'd be really surprised, and look, don't get me wrong, I hope he does. I'd be really surprised if he is, by the end of the season, an integral piece of that Barcelona setup. I still think he'll have a particular use there, and that will be just dipping in every now and then. And look, he's got a lot to learn as well, because it's a completely different style to what he's been playing, and he's only been used to the Premier League style. He's only been used to the Man United style of play. So there's going to be a lot that he has to take on board to understand when he's at Barcelona.
Did you think what did you make of it in the rearview mirror? What did you make of his contribution at Villa? Do you think it was kind of overrated because people didn't want him to do really well?
I think it was vastly overrated.
Yeah, you do.
I think if you take away his profile and the talk of loan fees and all that stuff, I thought it was good. I thought it was decent.
I thought it was just fine.
Yeah, well, I think he had that brilliant understanding with Asensio, didn't he? I think he scored a few goals, made a decent number of assists. I think. Surely you have to look at it in terms of pure numbers alone. I don't have them in front of me, but I remember.
So the pure numbers alone, I don't know how many assists, but it's 4 goals and 17 appearances.
Yeah,
but there were some assists in there.
Some assists in there.
I mean, David's gone for the big shout of him being overrated, vastly overrated.
I think that there was that added aspect of everybody enjoys another stick to beat Man United with.
Yeah.
So even if he looks moderately okay,
in the words of Denise Welsh, dive in. It's lovely.
Yeah,
it's lovely doing that.
All he had to do was moderately well, and everybody would be like, "Oh, look at him! He just needed to be out of Man United." And it was the same with Sancho, Rashford. Anthony obviously had a very good loan. Anthony, by comparison, had an amazing loan at Betis, whereas I think Rashford was fine. It was okay, but it was exaggerated, I think, given the context of it all.
Yeah. Well, there's nowhere to hide now, is there?
No, absolutely not.
And to be fair to him, if you're going to give him some credit, because we were talking about the idea that maybe he doesn't want to play football as much anymore, or is he out of love with United, or is he out of love with football? If you're going to give him credit, you have to say, I mean, it's not like he's hiding. I mean, he's gone to Barcelona. He knows how much attention he's going to get.
Absolutely, and they are a really demanding set of fans, really demanding club. I wonder if
media attention as well.
Yeah, massively. And from here as well, because it's only the second English player ever to play for Barcelona. I wonder if actually, if you're Hansi Flick, the smart thing to do now is think, I don't want to run Lamine Yamal into the ground. He's already played a lot of football. He's only 18. Rafinha can play on the right as well. Perhaps there might be some cases where Rashford is first choice replacement on both sides, and we see a bit more of him, because I think, it's impressive that he's got this move. There must have been some talk going on behind the scenes for him to keep saying, I want to play for Barcelona. I doubt he has manifested it, but it's a hell of a challenge to set yourself, because we've all seen Rafinha's story about him coming from the Várzea games in Brazil, where talented players without clubs play, and they're really, really intense and mad, and he's really fought to get to the pinnacle of football. And you're coming in as Marcus Rashford to compete with the world's most motivated man.
Was he top scorer in the Champions League last season as well, Rafinha?
He may well have been, he was certainly up there. And I just think that is... I don't think there's a bigger challenge in terms of the person in front of you, so be interesting to see how he adapts to that.
He's been explicit about this as well. He actually said, so obviously the Barcelona media, like you've said, it's going to be as intense as the British media for Rashford. He's not going out there to kind of hide a little bit and sort of get away from the big bad English media. Trust me, Barca media is very, very toxic. Rafinha actually said, look, if Nico Williams or Rashford or whoever it is come here, they need to work to get their place. And he explicitly said that because he felt a bit threatened, because he knows how hard he has worked to cement that position. Because every summer there was links about Rafinha, he's going back to the Premier League, Barcelona need to move him on to bring in Nico Williams or somebody like that. So he has got, that pressure's there. He's, dethroned Rafinha, who has really nailed down that spot.
Yeah, it's become a Ballon d'Or candidate. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens, won't we? We will see what happens. To me, lads, moving on, the most exciting thing I read in the running order when we were preparing for this show this morning was 3 words that producer Finn put in there, which was just simply this: Napoli, Grealish. And I know he's scared of mouse.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe, I imagine there are quite a lot of mice.
Mouso.
Quite a lot of mouse in Napoli, in Naples. You're not really going to ever find a place in a big city where you're not going to encounter mouse. But Jack Grealish, obviously, at the start of this, the preface to this is that Grealish's future at Man City has been questioned quite a lot. There's been a lot of rumours because he hasn't played as much, didn't make as big a contribution last season. However, earlier this week, he left the UK and flew to Naples, which in the modern era has obviously sparked so much speculation. Corriere dello Sport have since said he's one of several left-sided players being considered by Napoli, and then it turned out a lot of the rumours have their basis in the fact that a taxi driver who took him from the airport to the Amalfi Coast spoke on Italian radio and said the following: Grealish is still on the Amalfi Coast. I took him there. I can't tell you where he's training, but yes, he's here. Maybe he's had some contact with Napoli. I picked him up at the airport. I took him to the coast, and this morning he did his first training session. I can't ask him anything. He's on holiday, and maybe some questions would bother him. A very confusing quote, and I, the same way that people wanted to beat Man United with a stick when Rashford left, I want this to happen so much that I've got absolutely no objectivity about this story.
Same, yeah. I mean,
I'm desperate for it as well.
De Bruyne is there to help him settle in. McTominay and Billy Gilmore are there as well, help him settle in. You can just tell him that he lives on holiday, so he doesn't freak out. Yeah,
apparently according to a 2013 study, there are approximately 10 million rat in Naples. So is he considered that? He has to.
I doubt he will have.
I was thinking Como as well. I'd quite like Italy or Spain for Grealish. That's just where
but Como's not got Como's got the environment and the kind of thing. But Napoli is Napoli, man. It's a completely different kettle of fish.
I know, but Cesc and Grealish, I don't know.
That is the nice idea. But also Grealish and Pompey. Imagine the videos of him going around that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's there. He's just taking a little cultural excursion, you know?
It'd be great to get... I'll tell you what.
I doubt it's that, David.
Do a viral video where you have to get Grealish to Pompeii and he has to look at the bloke who got killed having a wank.
Yeah, the volcano wanker.
Do you know about the volcano wank?
No,
There's a guy
I've heard about it.
The guy you got... they've done him dirty. There's a guy in a Perspex box at Pompeii who has been killed by the ash cloud in the middle of having a little 5-knuckle shuffle. And as I said on the live tour, we covered this. It's kind of show it was. And he's been killed instantly while masturbating, or he's looked up at that ash cloud and he's gone, I've probably got 10 minutes here. Yeah. And he's been caught short.
Yeah, or he was planning it. It was like, well, I'm not changing my job. So I'm not changing my day for that.
Yeah,
I've been as well. I've been as well. I can't believe I missed it.
Oh, mate,
it's great.
What was I doing?
If there's one thing better than Napoli winning the league, it'll be Napoli winning the league with Grealish.
Absolutely. They've already got Noah Lang in, which I think is the most perfect fit.
He is the ultimate chaos agent as well. So.
There's a nice yin and yang there. Yeah. Get those two in.
Before we move on to the final part of the show, on Wednesday, guys, we discussed the rumour of Sean Dyche eating worms during a training session once. Well, it wasn't really a rumour. What happened was, me and Jim got confused because I thought that Sean Dyche was asked in a press conference why his voice was so gravelly, the famous Sandy Ballbag voice, Jim. And he said, it's because I eat worms. But you said it was because during training as a player, as a bit of a kind of like footballer banter, he would occasionally be found an earthworm, he would eat it.
Yeah, as I remember it, a former teammate of his said that had happened, and Dyche denied it. So Wormgate is is all over the shop if you don't Google it like we haven't.
And then we started talking about the famous worm charming tournament that takes place in the UK every year, and then someone emailed in, Jim.
Yes, I was unaware of that, but Mark Duffield Thomas has commented the following on Spotify. The worm charming the lads mention is the Williston World Worm Charming Championship in the small Cheshire village of Williston near Crewe. Been running since 1980. I grew up there and have participated many times. Using a garden fork to lightly lift soil and pretend it's raining works. Strictly no digging. Also prizes for biggest and heaviest worms. The world record is 567 worms in 30 minutes by 10-year-old Sophie Smith, according to the International Federation of Charming Worms. Grubs!
That's amazing, isn't it?
Lovely sign-off as well.
I feel like Mark is pushing the rules of that competition to the very limit there, because he's apparently, quote unquote, using a garden fork to lightly lift soil, although digging is banned. Where's your cut off?
It would be way better if it was like a household fork.
Yeah, good work. I watched
And a spoon.
there's
Get them together like spaghetti.
Grubs.
so they can't get back in. There's videos on YouTube of this, and what a lot of people seem to be doing is, as Mark says, simulating rain. So some people are literally just like tapping on the soil like.
Oh,
it's
I thought you
raining.
meant like with a watering can.
No, I think they're using their fingers, and the worms just pop up.
Idiots.
And they get straight in the bucket. And there's something about this that reminds me of how my granddad told me how to grow a beard when I was a kid. Have I told you about this?
No.
So here with the worms, they come up, you pull them out so they can't go back, and you put them in the bucket and they get counted, right? I don't know, but I presume no worms are harmed in the competition. And I should say before I move on, 567 worms in 30 minutes is incredible. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Horrifying if you're scared of worm.
Horrified if you're the worm. Wherever my friend's gone.
Yeah, where's my...
But when I asked my granddad how to grow a beard when I was a kid, he said to me, before you go to bed, I didn't do this. I guess I kind of didn't believe him, but he did say, when you go to bed at night, rub salt in your chin, right? Okay. And then leave a cup of water next to your bed. And when the hairs come out, because they get thirsty for a drink, right, tie a knot on them so they can't get back in.
Nice.
Yeah. Apparently that's how you do it.
Brilliant.
We also asked for our listeners to submit footballers with palindromic names, and they have been appalling at it. I mean, it's very rare the Ramble listeners let us down here in the studio, but so far we've only got a misspelling of Phil Babb to B-A-A-B from friend of the Ramble, Alex Peters, and there have been no other suggestions for palindromic surnames of footballers. Someone else also said, one of the worst contributions to this debate I've ever seen was someone also said, Ugo Ehiyog is kind of one if you move the I and the E around his name. That's not how it works.
No.
You can't do that.
No.
But there must be other ones out there. And David, you went on the show earlier in the week, but it comes from the fact that Ekitike is a palindromic surname footballer about to join the Premier League. Anyway.
I've got Reina, who played for Dortmund and Real Madrid.
I can't understand your accent. How does it spell?
Reina.
Reina?
Yeah. Reina. He played for Dortmund and Real Madrid.
That's R-E-I-N...
Yeah. It works. It
does work.
It
Okay.
does work. Yeah.
We trust you for it.
So there we go.
Your accent doesn't lend itself to any pronunciation.
All right. Sorry.
Coming up after this, we are going to talk hypnotists. Yes, you heard me. Hypnotists. All right, welcome back to the Football Ramble. We were suggesting on Wednesday that just been. Do you know what? It's just there's no season. There's no football happening. It's been slow. So we were suggesting on Wednesday as well that Chelsea might have a hypnotist on their transfer negotiation team. And Jim, someone else has been in touch about this. We get more emails about this stuff than we do about actual football.
We do, yeah, which I like, to be honest. Martin Rees has been in touch. He says, "Hi guys, sadly I can neither confirm nor deny that Chelsea have a hypnotist, but the conversation reminded me that at a friend's wedding just last Saturday, I met one of five magicians currently on retainer with Chelsea Football Club. Apparently their work is mostly for corporate hospitality and functions rather than transfer activities though. I'm also not able to confirm whether any magicians are currently on loan to Strasbourg or whether any are on loan from Manchester United, and if so, what kind of fee is involved if the club decides to opt out of any compulsory purchase clause."
I mean, 5 is a lot.
5 is loads. It's like their goalkeeper department, isn't it? It's absolutely stacked.
I mean, see, I feel like at one point magicians, that they got a really bad rep, say around in the 90s, where a lot of them felt like they were being outed as perverts.
Yes.
Right? And so they had to go urban. And that's when you saw Dynamo and David Blay.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we have to reinvent and style magicians now to make them edgy and cool and dangerous again, so they're not seen as perverts, right? Now, I don't know how the economy works around magicians, but if this is indicative of, say, Premier League clubs, that means there's 100 magicians currently in work on football club retainers alone.
Yeah. And this is just magicians.
Do you know who I feel for? I feel for the 5 and 6-year-old kids who want a magician at their party. They're going to have to prize them out of a deal with a Premier League club to get them to do a Saturday at their birthday party. I mean, I'd love to know if anyone else has got any information about football clubs having magicians on retainers.
Yeah, and anything like that as well, whether it's magicians or God knows what else, because...
Well, if it was hypnotists, you could use it to get out.
Indeed.
I've been hypnotised. There was a man in the US who I think committed, I want to say, 2 murders. And got off because he was able to scientifically prove that he was sleepwalking at the time.
I've heard about that recently. Yeah. That is some lawyer, that.
So the hypnotism thing could work as well. If you, say you back pass it into your own net or you miss an easy chance, why has the club I play for got so many hypnotists retained? I don't. If I'm walking down the corridor, I might be hypnotised and not know about it. So it's a lot of potential there. Anyway, let's move on to what is undoubtedly the most important game of the summer. The most. I am going to include the Club World Cup into this actually, because there's a European final happening featuring England on Sunday at 5 o'clock, and it's England versus Spain in the final Euro 2025. Very exciting for the Lionesses to get through to their second European final in a row. Of course, they won the last one, so they're still the defending champions, but they are coming up against a Spain side who do look good. Although, having said that, the game against Germany, semi-final Spain played against Germany, was one of the most boring games I've ever seen in my life. It was proper Europa League final stuff. It was really, really poor.
I mean, the goal that Aitana Bonmati scored was a special moment. There were a couple of good saves as well, and I think there were some moments in it. And interestingly, it's Spain's first ever win over Germany. So this sets up a really interesting final for England, because I think we've seen of the Spain team in this tournament that they look by far and away the most kind of technically accomplished team in it. They seem like the challenge that everyone else has to figure out. But England have this thing about them where, as we've seen, they've got this kind of incredible tenacity to them, this amazing ability to dig in. They seem fit enough to go the distance without it actually kind of affecting their levels too much as well. There's a lot of youth and a lot of energy in there. This is going to be a really, really interesting one.
But it's a blessing and a curse, though, isn't it, when you describe the Lionesses this summer? Because to me, it depends which way you want to look at it. They've started so slowly in 3 key games now in this tournament. They started slowly against France, didn't get away with it. Started slowly against Sweden and in the semi-final as well against Italy, and got away with those both times. To me, there's an element to this where they only develop a reputation for being able to dig in and never know when they're beaten because they're up against it so often. And when you're playing against a team that's as good as Spain, and when Spain are at their best, they're frighteningly good.
Yeah, and they control the game so well.
It's the old saying, isn't it? You dance with the devil for long enough, he's going to follow you home, right? And it depends how much, how many more times England can go back to the well. Because I think if they go against Sweden, they were 2-0 down, right? If you go up against Spain in the final and you're 2-0 down after half an hour, you'd be a very brave person to back them to lift the trophy. I mean, it's just a completely different kettle of fish.
Absolutely. It's a different level of team to come from behind against. I just think Spain is so far and away better than any other team on so many levels, on an individual level, on a collective level.
I watched the best of highlights of them, and I think it's before the semi. It's frightening.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's just the identity they've got. They're so clear in the way they play, and in Spain are like this across all of their teams. It doesn't care if it's the men's or the women's team, if it doesn't care if it's the under-18s, if it's the full team. They like to have a clear identity of how they play. And in Bonmati, I think you've got somebody who's also just a better player than anybody else. I think her level is so high compared to anybody else. And I think for England, it is a case. I think the big question is, do you make those changes and start Agimang, start Kelly? That's going to be the big thing for them to look at, I think, for this game. I don't
think Regan will do that. I think she'll stick with it. I mean, she may not be able to start Lauren James because she came off of an injury and is still nursing it, I think. It looks like she's got a problem with her ankle. But to me, I feel like the type of character Vegan seems to be, I think she'll bring Kelly and bring Adjuman on later than we'd like, which seems to have been the case. So it doesn't seem to make any difference, but every time I've seen them in this tournament, I've been crying out for them to bring them on.
Maybe get an extra 10 minutes for Spain.
Yeah, maybe they won't keep it till the 77th minute like I did last time. But speaking of Bonmati, by the way, some story. She obviously the current Ballon d'Or holder, scored the winner against Germany on Wednesday, as Jim mentioned. She was in the hospital with viral meningitis, I think 3 days before the tournament started, and she's still being a standout player and still going to have a massive effect on the final, you'd expect. Couldn't be more poised, this game, really. I mean, England never know they're beaten. Spain are a good team. England and Spain played each other twice in the Nations League this year. England won 1-0 and Spain won the other one 2-1. So it's really poised. I'm just desperate for England to start well. Like, I know they knocked over Netherlands as a reaction to that France game. And with respect to Wales, they weren't really at the same level. Other than that, it's you're watching the game and you're frightened for the first half an hour because they don't seem to be up and running.
They just don't have the confidence that they used to have.
Do you reckon that's what it is?
I wonder if it was too many. I know the start of the tournament, the build-up wasn't exactly ideal. They had a few things different going on, injuries and pull-outs, obviously. Yeah. But I wonder if it's that still lingering as well. But they just, I don't know, they don't have that confidence and assurance that they usually have about them. The ability to control a game with ease, what they used to have. And they just look a bit out of character, I think, this tournament. And I don't think it's, sometimes people think, oh, it's destiny. They're getting through and stuff like that. I don't know. It doesn't really feel like that. It just feels like it's set up for a Spain victory.